Welcome back to the Weekly Manga Podcast. This is the podcast where we talk about all of your favorite ongoing Japanese manga. This week, we're doing our question and answer episode with some of the questions that you, our fine watchers and listeners, have submitted. So stick around for all that manga news and more coming right up. Hello again, my name is Bruce. I am the proprietor of the White Gray Black YouTube channel, and this week I am joined again by my constant co-host, Gautam.
Hello.
A special shout out and thanks to our Patreon subscribers, Yaji Black. If you want to have your name read at the top of the episode, see some bonus content, check out patreon.com/WGBmanga. It's only $3, and it's a really good place to leave questions for us the next time we do an episode like this. So with that, let's get right into some of the issues you guys have asked us over the years or submitted for this. I want to start with one that I got from Patreon, which I did answer directly to the person who asked it to me. But I thought it was a good, not spicy, but a little, a very interesting question to point out. So the question that we got here is posed as, it says, I am curious why you guys seem to restrict yourselves to just shonen romances. I think the best that the genre has to offer is found in any of the other demographics. And I put parentheses, this is me inserting this, mainly shoujo and josei. This is an interesting question, and I'm kind of glad that someone posed it to us because we don't really cover shoujo and josei like ever. Telework Yotobanashi, I think that's technically seinen, but like we haven't really covered that. Those are not demographics that we get into. So
yeah, I suppose so. And I think it's like a few pronged thing for me.
Yeah, there's like 3 or 4 things I have listed here.
Yeah, should I go? You want me to take it real quick?
Yeah. I'm curious of what your answers will be here, and then I'll set out the paragraphs that I've written.
Well, generally, I'm not like a huge romance guy in the first place, primarily because I don't like the writing in most of them. I find that the characters are either miscommunicating or spineless, and that frustrates me. And I don't like it when the source of the tension is that we have a protagonist that's not taking action, or it's a lack of agency. That's the crux.
Or
of
misunderstandings or idiot plot. Those are, in my opinion, way more common in romance series than they are in other types of series.
I read Kimi no Todoke back in the day, and that's like the one with Sadako.
Yes, it's very generic and also very
But it was kind of like The Thing at the time, right? That was a big one.
I watched it. I like that series, but I will also admit that it is incredibly generic and straightforward.
The baseball guy.
It's like the side character guy?
And the coach. The coach is cool. Yeah, and her friends are cool. But anyway, I digress. The source of the conflict is they misunderstand each other, and they both love each other, but they misunderstand each other, and they don't talk for 8 months.
Yeah, they don't talk for an entire season of that show. It's fucking insane.
And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What the fuck happened here? And it's 8 months is such a jarring amount of time. But anyway, that's just one of them, right? I guess another reason on my end is that aside from not being a huge romance guy, I do read things that we don't bring over to the show because I have a guilty pleasure for Otome game kind of manga where there's a villainess and she's doing it right and girl bossing,
which you have brought I think once to the podcast.
Yeah,
this year,
once or twice. Right?
It's much more rare, but yeah.
But it's I don't bring them as often because I like to bring things where me and Bruce have commonality or a shared interest, because otherwise I'm the only one talking about it, right? Instead of a back and forth. So for that reason, I don't bring some of the stuff that you may not see because I perceive it as me and Bruce not having commonality on this particular thing, because why would he like Otome games? I don't even know why I like them, but I do.
That's not a genre that I have any experience with, basically. So yeah.
Yeah, so that's generally my reasoning. But I think that's a good call out, right? Because we do cover shonen romances. We should cover shoujo romances.
Well, I would argue that we shouldn't. And
you don't think so?
Well, yeah, and there's a couple of reasons for it, and I answered the original poster who asked this in the same way, and there's lots of things coming. So I will just start with one and go from there. The first thing is just there is not enough time to read everything, right? Like,
yeah,
I like the things I read. Even when like new series come out and we read chapter 1 or 2 and I think, wow, this series is really good. Sometimes it still gets dropped because there's just not enough time in the day. We've talked about the fact that in modern media society, whatever you want to call it, there are so many things vying for your attention. Right? Like your attention is what TikTok and YouTube and Twitch and Amazon Prime Video and Netflix and manga and anime and all these things want that attention, right? And they're all sort of competing for it and going out there. And so if there's downtime, there's 50 things fighting for my attention. You know, I have to walk my dog. I have to cook dinner. There's just not enough time to read and do everything. And that bleeds why that applies here of why we don't, I guess I will speak for myself, particularly of why I don't read and talk about more shoujo and josei is that, that's just what I have chosen to cut as far as the manga I read. And there's reasons for that I'll talk about later. But yeah, there's so many things vying for your attention, and in concert with that, hand in hand with that, is the fact that this is a weird one to talk about because it gets really meta, but like even like as soon as maybe like 10 or 12 years ago, like I think in 2012, 2014, anime and manga fans were singular. Like if the culture was completely shared. If you were a fan of anime in 2012, you watched the exact same shows as everyone else who was a fan of anime in 2012 watched, right? In 2012, you would have been watching, Steins Gate and Madoka and what else was around there? Code Geass, and you would have seen in the past, you would have seen Cowboy Bebop, you would have seen Evangelion, you would have seen all these things, and some things were niche and they would get suggested, but the culture at that time was singular, right? If you were a fan of anime, you were a fan of this set of things. And manga was kind of much the same. Again, it kind of is always a smaller subset of the kind of Japanese media anime fans. It was much the same back then, and I think that persists through the modern day a little bit in the way people think about anime and manga fandom. And I'm here to tell you straight up right now, that is not the way the culture works right now. You can be an anime fan and someone else can be an anime fan. And right now, because we have such good widespread access and lots of different things being translated and brought over, you do not have to watch the same shows, right? Like I could be an anime fan who only watches the shonen stuff, which are the most popular and the most people watch. But you can also be an anime fan and only watch the, what's the cute girls doing cute things show this time? What's the shoujo josei romance thing doing this thing? Those two people are both anime fans. They're both in the anime fandom, and they do not consume the same media. So
that's a good point.
Yeah. There's and so many people, and I don't think the asker was implying this. I just think it's a response to this question. So many people still think about the anime and manga fandoms as a singular thing. Like if you like anime, you like Jujutsu Kaisen. Like if you're an anime fan, you like Jujutsu Kaisen. And it's just like that's just not true anymore. There's so much of it that it has fractured, and that is good in my opinion.
This dude hates JJK.
Yeah, I do. Yes,
he wants you to know. He wants the JJK fans out there to know. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, it's fractured, right? And that I think that's generally a good thing. What that means is that there are there's more diversity, there are more diverse viewpoints, there are more diverse stories being told. All of that I think is good, but it has to change the way that we talk about I'm an anime fan. Because, and the thing that I compare it to is books, right? I think actually books is probably the best comparison you can make with manga readers, manga fans. Because to be honest, as many anime as there are more manga being translated because there are fan translations, there are official translations. There's every genre under the sun. There's more manga out there, right? Manga is more closer to books than anime. And if we're a YouTube channel, right, and a podcast, if you go on BookTube, right, which is, YouTuber book subgenre of people talking about books, discussing books, reading books, doing deep dives, stuff like that, there is not a booktuber that covers all books. That is stupid. Like, if there was a booktuber who said, I'm going to cover all books, all genres, all types of authors, all points of views, all books, I'm going to go over all the books. It's impossible. No one would watch that channel. There's too many books. There's too many point of views. They would be missing.
With that attitude, it is.
Well, come on. But because and the way that it works now is that if you're a booktuber, you're fantasy and sci-fi booktuber, or you're romance, or you're true crime, or you do stuff on maybe nonfiction, right? Maybe historical nonfiction, maybe you're historical fantasy, right? Like, people go really deep and specific on what type of genre they cover in booktuber, and that is where manga readers need to, one, accept that we're going, and two, embrace that we're going. Because the sooner that we embrace it and accept that is the way that we need to approach our, the way we build our YouTube channels and stuff, the better the content will become. And that's, I don't express opinions on the way YouTube works and stuff very often, but too often I see someone, I guess this kind of ties into another thing, right? Which is that if I go on YouTube and just search for, manga discussion, and this is kind of, I think, what the asker was really getting at. If I search for just, manga discussion, most of the things I'm going to see are going to be about One Piece and Jujutsu Kaisen and My Hero Academia and the incredibly popular stuff, right? Like, and those are shonen action. Those are shonen series, right? And so if you there is, okay. I'm trying to think of how to address this. Are you aware, sort of, Gautam, of the male slant of the world from the past, however, 100, let's say, just say 100 years, right? The fact that men had more power in society, so media was produced to appeal to their point of view. And that's why, if you think about, the great movies of the 50s, and they're all movies that are technically made for men. And then there was a smaller subgenre that was like girls' movies, right? And that's, the world still does kind of work like that. Now, it is getting better and it is being improved, but there is this idea that I see.
Ken Levine, BioShock Infinite, put, you remember that whole discussion where instead of using the cover art that he wanted to use, they used the guy holding gun because they know it'll appeal to the Call of Duty macho man audience, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a marketing thing. Yeah, it makes sense.
It is. And the sort of attachment to manga here is that there is this idea that the normal manga is a shonen series, right? Which there's kind of two ways. I'm trying to think of which one I want to discuss here, which should not be true, right? In a perfect world would not be true. But because of the reality of our world, it is true that things work like that. That the normal anime series, the normal manga series are for boys. And then the girl stuff is separate, and the girl stuff is over there. It's different. And it's the other thing, right? There's this idea of the other, which I learned about in college, I won't go into, but anyways, that is sort of a negative way of framing it. So it is important, I think, to understand that we say we're the weekly manga podcast, and we don't put, weekly action, fantasy, shonen, seinen only manga series. We don't put those modifiers because we are assuming if we say weekly manga podcast, we're going to attract people who read normal manga, and normal manga is shonen manga, right? So I accept that is a playground that we have to play in, and sort of social norms that are tacked onto us, which I do think should be broken eventually. And I do think that, again, with talking about how we make our YouTube videos and how we as sort of anime manga YouTubers make our YouTube videos, we need to accept that eventually, just saying manga, just saying anime is not going to be good enough. We're going to have to put a little bit more effort into specifying which audience we're talking to, in the same way that book YouTube does, right? and book YouTube still sometimes will be like, this is the best book I've ever read. And it'll be, it'll be a sci-fi series or it'll be a romance series. And you can kind of tell maybe from who that channel is, or if you already follow that channel. But generally they're going to say stuff like, this changes sci-fi forever, or this fantasy series is great, right? They almost always put like a genre modifier on there because that's the audience they're going for. And they are not really interested in appealing to every single person who reads books, because that's impossible. So tying that back to why don't we bring more shoujo and josei, we don't read it as much is pure the fact. And the other main big thing I would say is that is not the audience that we are making these videos for, to be honest. Like, if you are into shoujo and josei, anime and manga, I can recommend you some channels. I think Colleen's Manga Rex is a really good one for those stuff. I've watched some of her videos. But I don't want to say it's not our job, not our responsibility, because I do think that, everyone has a responsibility to uplift those whose voices have not always been uplifted. But that is the choices of the things that we like and we like to talk about don't generally include those things. And so we are specified kind of in this other genre. And how do I say it? The community of people making these things, we're in a transition period right now, right? We're in a transition period between that past time that I talked about where everything is singular. And if you're a fan of anime and manga, we all read and talk about almost exactly the same series. Our overlaps are huge. And then the sort of fan of a books, where everyone likes their own genres, everyone likes their own specific things. And it's all pretty diverse, right? Like, I don't know, has anyone ever introduced themselves to you, Gautam, and been like, oh, I'm a huge fan of books? And you go, oh, well,
I'm a huge bookhead myself.
Yeah, like, well, and your first question is like, oh, like, what kinds of books, right? Like, you don't just be like, oh, you like books? Like, I like books too. I like the Bible and, Akira. Like, you can just, like, there's so many different kinds of books that if someone says, I love books, the first question is, what kind of books? And we don't ask that question with anime and manga. Someone says, I'm a fan of manga. You immediately probably jump to like, oh, do you like shonen series? Like, do you like Jujutsu Kaisen? Like, or My Hero Academia? You immediately ask them, what's a really popular generic thing that probably you share with them, right? You don't go, oh, what kind of anime do you watch, or what kind of manga do you like? But we're on that path and we're getting there. So people need to kind of be aware of that, I think. And that's to know that we are going in that direction, and we need to be cognizant of people who can say that they're a fan of manga and they can only read shoujo and josei series. And I can say I'm a fan of manga and I can only read action fantasy series and shonen romances or whatever. And we're both still fans of manga, but just, the YouTubers we watch might be different, and we need to, put tags or something in there. So,
side topic, I went to the Otome game subreddit, and I've been there before when I was looking for series to read, and it was like very small, but I don't know what changed. People are into Otome game now, and I think they might like manga more than anyone in the world. Really? Even me and you, who do a podcast about it. They have a lot to say about it, and they're very passionate. So hopefully whenever I bring a villainous series, they're not like our one listener who posts on that subreddit isn't like, these guys fucking suck at dissecting my favorite Otome.
Yeah. Well, and those echo chambers are hard to appeal to broadly, but yeah. I have 3 more points on this question, which I will go through very quickly because I spent a lot of time on that first one. One is that, very simply, I am a cis male, and telling a story through a male point of view is easier for me to relate to. I don't know if that's true for you too, Gautam, but if I'm reading a romance and it focuses more on the male point of view, that is easier for me to read and relate to. There is less friction there. And so that's just part of it. Like, it's just, you have to accept that. So
I like a strong female character.
I absolutely do too. And I think
I guess I said that in a way where I implied that you don't. That's not what I'm saying. No, I guess I don't care about the perspective if it's male or female. As long as they're interesting, because I guess I do relate, right? I do put myself in their shoes, but ultimately I'm here for just a good story. So as long as it has interesting plot beats, it could be like a fucking talking crocodile.
Yeah, and I guess it's.
I'm here for it.
I think
this croc will die in 100 days.
Yes. I think it's more, now I thought about it just a little bit more. I think most of our favorite romances are more of a 50-50 balance of like Kaguya-sama, I think is the best example. Like Kaguya-sama, I think Prez is probably the first point of view character, but that's pretty much a 50-50 split between Prez and Kaguya, right?
Uh-huh.
Very, very close
Totally.
to it. And I think that all of my favorite romances are close to a 50-50 split or more well balanced than something being, only point of view of the male. I think it's, and I actually think, now that I think about it, I think it's less that it's like, this is a male point of view and I relate to it more. I think it's more that if you're telling a story completely from a female point of view, that is just more difficult for me to understand, and it creates fiction when reading. And I think that friction is good. And I do think the asker of this question presents a good challenge in that, you know what, we probably do need to read more of these things. I think that would expand our minds. I think it would help, reading, comprehension. I think it is a good thing for us to read more of that. But that being said, there is more friction there in that telling something from a female point of view like that is harder for me to understand. And there will be things that I will not relate to and not understand fully. So
you're worried that you won't represent it well when you talk about it.
There's also that. Yeah. I mean, I didn't have that on my list, but I think that's absolutely good. Is that, how do I say it? What I don't want to say is I don't want to say it's not my responsibility to, talk about female-centered stuff, because it's everyone's responsibility to try to uplift, like I said, those voices that have been quieted. But yeah, if you come to a podcast and two, cis guys are talking about your favorite shoujo and josei series overall, like maybe that's a niche thing. Maybe people would like that. I don't think our voices are the ones. Right. I don't think our voices are the ones that need to be heard on those series. I think there are female voices that should be lifted up and to speak about those series. I don't think we're the ones to do that. I think we could bring them sometimes.
You know
but
what?
It shouldn't be. We shouldn't be the ones to be focusing on it, right? Because our opinion doesn't matter.
Guess. It's like, because it's just a comic, right? Like, it's just like, if it's good, I feel like we can talk about it. And
yeah,
maybe
absolutely.
we won't have the most apt perspective, like you mentioned. But you know what? We'll bring whatever's fun. I think ultimately if it's a good time, we'll go for it.
Yeah, for sure.
But to your point, I think if it's like a very specific subject matter, or if it's a subject matter that, I don't know, there's like some series like
what was the
the boy that was sexually abused, and it's like that's a really hard one to bring up
and talk about.
And
there's
talk about
I'm trying to remember. There was something like my early life experience with lesbianism or something. There was this manga that got really popular, well regarded.
Oh, that's right.
I can't remember its exact name. It's something like that. But that's the kind of thing again that we could read and we could talk about on the podcast, and that would be two cis males' opinions on a story about lesbianism. And I think, in my opinion, it is not as important for our voices to be heard on that as it is for someone who is a woman or is lesbian or has experience with that, right? Like
has lived experience, right?
Yeah, that has a lived experience like that. There's a detachment there, and there's also this idea, kind of like I talked about, with the sort of male point of view being the primary one that media is produced around, where part of me feels a little guilty of being like, I'm a cis male and all media is made for me, so I'm going to talk about this little lesbian manga. It makes me feel bad for trying to do something like that. I would much rather lift up and embrace someone who, again, has had their voice quieted that needs to be heard. That's my opinion on those things. So
that's fair. But with that said, I don't feel that way about just shoujo manga in general.
No, I don't either. I mean, the ones that I have read, I have enjoyed and liked. I have not obviously read too many, but it's not that we don't hate the genre. We don't not like the genre. I think that there is a complex social web of things that, like I said, is kind of in transit to a new version of things. So
I don't like the genre that much, but I also don't like shonen romances that much. So for what it's worth, my opinion is meaningless here, if you ask me.
Well, and I mean, and that is the thing, is that if you're talking, do you read shoujo and josei, you're kind of asking, hey, do you read romance? Like, do you read girl-focused romance? And that, which is unfortunate that all right, I'm going to go on a diatribe. I'm going to go on a rant here. Shonen, seinen, shoujo, and josei are not genres, and we need to stop talking about them like they are. It pisses me off so bad that people will be like, oh, I really love shonen. And it's like, that doesn't mean anything. It is not a genre.
It's too wide of a net.
Yes. Saying. There was a Twitter thread I think that I replied to where people were complaining because someone posted like, these are the best 3 seinen series of all time. And it was like Berserk, Vagabond, and I don't remember what the third one was. Berserk, Vagabond, and Vinland Saga, right? And everyone was clowning on this guy because they're like, oh my gosh, the classic bro seinen, blah, blah, blah. Like, there's so many other good seinen out there. Like, read Witch Hat. Witch Hat's a seinen. Read this. This is a seinen. And like, people could not understand. I not like attack people, but I like responded to some people and I was like, you understand that it's stupid to even be talking about those 3 series in the same conversation as Witch Hat, right? Talking about Vagabond, Berserk, and Vinland Saga, and trying to suggest to being like, this person likes seinen, I will suggest Witch Hat to them, is so stupid because they are not the same genre. Seinen is not a genre. It's so stupid to talk about series by using shonen, seinen, shoujo, and josei.
Those definitions get a little bit nebulous though, because shonen manga they cover the same tropes despite having different plots, right? It's like, you know what and I'm sure you've seen this, Bruce. It's like, because we read so many of them, it's like, you know what's coming because it has been done before a million times. Yeah. So, I think that's where it gets like this weird line of like, it's not a genre, but they do share commonality with each other within the sometimes quote unquote shonen genre. I don't know. Would you say, right? I'm gonna tell you 2 series and I want you to tell me their commonalities because I think that it's less than you might think. Okay. Shiba Inu Rooms and Chainsaw Man. Those are both shonen series. Okay. Yeah. That Shiba share Rooms almost nothing, right? So which is exactly what I'm trying to say, which is that shonen is not a genre. You cannot lump shonen and seinen together. Stocks. Yeah. Girl loves dogs. Like, I guess they have supernatural elements, but that's a fantasy thing. Yeah, I guess, yeah. Anyways. Yeah. We need to stop talking. And again, this is, I think, one of these things that... yeah. Can I... Go. For my own credibility's sake, when I was younger, I read a ton of shoujo. So I read like, I think it's called like Maid-sama or something. I read Skippy, No Todoke, My Little Monster... actually, Ouran High School Host Club is like a banger. I still like that. Yeah, lots of people like that one. Yeah, it's long since over, but it's great. I've read Horimiya, but I read Horimiya. Yeah, I guess it's just like, I thought that was shonen. Maybe not. But it's something I liked more when I was a little bit younger. I don't know what changed in my brain, but it doesn't resonate as much anymore. Yeah. Yeah, but anyways, we need to stop focusing on genre, or we need to stop thinking. We need to go to another question, right? We do. Yeah, that's fine. That's it. Like I said, that is a big long question that we talked about for a while. There's a lot to address there. But that was a good one. I had a good time talking about that. All right, next question. Let's see. Why are you guys so harsh on chapter 1s? Sometimes it's an author's first attempt at writing a manga, and you act like it's the end of the world when the author has some shortcomings. Gautam, say something here. That's like incredible. I love that question. It's incredibly fair. Yep. He's right. Or he or she is right. They're right. It's like, we are exceptionally harsh on chapter 1s, but ultimately it's like, it's very much that it's fun to complain. It's fun to complain. And it is also, we're comparing it relative to its competition, right? The chapter 1 might not be as bad as we are claiming it is, but it's just like how your favorite sandwich shop is god tier and Subway is trash tier, when in reality Subway is not that bad. You know, it's just in comparison to your favorite sandwich shop. Yeah, it is that bad. I think that's a good way to put it, because what we are doing is we are comparing Subway to other sandwich shops, when in reality maybe we should be comparing Subway to how good it is to eat dirt, or how good is it to eat rocks, or like sand, which is like listen, I'll go to Subway, I'll have a sandwich on a road trip, and I'll have a good meal, but it's not my preference, right? And we're ultimately, this is like the same thing for our chapter 1s. It's like, we have options, unfortunately, and I think, as we mentioned in the previous question, is like it's all a competition for your time.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. Yeah, exactly. It's
yeah. So
chapter ones have to be good because it is the first time it is asking you to engage and continue engaging with your series, and you are in competition with every single other thing that wants my attention at that time. And if you aren't good enough to interest me and keep me around, you're not good enough. And that's why we talk at length about chapter ones. So,
and and part of it is also, I think, the format of how we do these things is like we pick apart what works and what doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And at least in our opinion, what works, what doesn't. And I think that's like the whole format, right? But in regards to being exceptionally harsh, I don't feel like we are, but we might be. I would attribute that to us having consumed so much manga.
Yeah.
And
media in general.
That a mediocre product is frustrating in that we have seen it a million times before.
Yeah.
And that's maybe our own fault, because it's like a new manga reader won't have the same issues we do, because this might be their first time seeing this premise.
To use the sandwich comparison, if you've only eaten at Jimmy John's and Subway, you might think like, oh, Subway, like Jimmy John's is better, but Subway's not that bad. I mean, it's the second best sandwich shop. And if we have eaten at 100 sandwich shops across the United States, Subway might be the worst sandwich shop. And we might talk about it like it is. And that's kind of the situation we're in, right? Where it's like, we've consumed so many movies, TV shows, anime, manga, everything, that when something that's just okay comes around, compared to all the other good stuff we've read, it's actually kind of bad. And that's how we talk about it. So.
And don't take what I'm about to say as us getting high on our own supply, but you know how like Gordon, and I'm not comparing myself to Gordon Ramsay, okay? But you know how Gordon Ramsay is like, this came from a can, you fucking donkey.
Yeah.
It's like, who cares in actuality, right? It's like, he cares because he wants
the best.
Reviewing the meal, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he's reviewing a meal from a professional chef. But in actuality, I'm sure if like Gordon's mom made something with canned tomatoes, he's not going to flip out at her, right? It's like, it's just when you talk about stuff, especially on a podcast, you kind of have to. I mean, you kind of have to talk about it,
yeah.
And that includes listing what we didn't like about it. So
yeah,
if we're exceptionally hard on chapter ones, you can maybe attribute it to us being jaded, but I think we try our best to be fair, and I hope that comes across.
Yeah. It is also, this is essentially a lit crit for manga podcast. Like, this is literary criticism for manga. So like, we're coming in with a critical eye to all of these things. And yeah, again, if we find things we don't like or things that don't work, we talk about them. So.
And I don't know anything about nothing. So it's like, it's funny to say lit crit when it applies to me, because I'm just shooting from the hip. I'm just going with my heart, my gut, my soul.
Lit crit probably started that way. Some guy didn't like a book and wrote about it, and everyone's like, wow, look at how much he wrote about how much he hated this book. This is excellent criticism. And then eventually it's a thing you can study in college. So
and to be honest, sometimes I forget that people listen, and I feel like I'm just talking to you about it, and we're just having a conversation. So
which is the best kind of podcast. So
yeah, I that's why it's fun for us still.
I agree. Let's go to a more fun question here. If you received or won $10 million tomorrow, Gautam, how would you plan to spend that money?
I'd buy you a house.
Okay,
That's a BNL song. It's everyone's favorite BNL song. $10 million.
Yeah.
I would quit my job for sure.
Yep.
I would invest most of it, and I'd take $2 million and travel the world and just spend lavishly.
There you go.
Actually, no, sorry. I would donate a good bit of it, I say, for the podcast audience to make myself seem like a better person. In actuality,
there you go. You just give away $100 every time, just to a listener, grow the audience that way. I like that.
But let's fuck the responsible mindset. We're working adults, which is why that's the most boring answer you could think of.
Yeah.
Let's say I can't invest it, right? I have to spend $10 million.
Yeah. Let's say you have to like create or do something with it. What would you do?
Okay. Yeah, I would get everyone who worked on Redline and I would get them to make just more movies and not have to worry about competing with Frozen in the box office and dying.
Yeah, there you go.
That's probably
Redline
top
2.
of mind. Yeah, Redline
Adam's
2.
answer to this is Redline 2.
Yeah, even redder line.
Too red, too line.
Yeah, I'm about it. Let's fucking go, baby.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll think of more later. But what do you got? What do you think?
I think this is something I've talked to you about, of like my ultimate dream if I ever had hundreds of millions of dollars, which I would want to start a publication company for Westerners, Americans, English speaking people to write, produce, publish manga and publish them here and in Japan. Like I think, there's massive audience for anime and manga in the West, and we only just now basically saw our first manga in Shonen Jump Plus appear only written by a Western author, right? With no name, and Raphael Jacki. The first time. And like, I know for a fact that people in the West and English speaking countries have stories to tell in manga and want to do this. The problem is they have
for sure
basically no way to do it. Japan is not the kind of country that is going to just allow a bunch of foreign people come in and start, doing their art and taking in all of the infrastructure in Japan for manga production, manga publication is in Japanese. It's incredibly difficult. It is so difficult, in fact, that it almost doesn't exist, right? Like there's so very few Western people producing, drawing, writing manga in Japan. Like there's so few. Raphael Jacki might be the only one I can name. And he doesn't live in Japan. I think he lives in Poland or something. So
what's that one that was made in France? That's the only other one.
France is the other big market. But again, France does have more kind of in country manga production than even like America does, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's called Radiant. Yeah.
Yeah. And we just like French has French manga. America doesn't have American manga. And like, I want that to happen. So I would like to start that.
I don't think $10 million is enough for either of our things.
Maybe.
I think
10 million.
That might be too little money.
10 million, I think, is enough to hire someone to build a website, 2 or 3 people to build a website for a couple of years. I think it's enough to hire and pay maybe 6 to 12 manga author pairs to produce. And that's all. I think that's all you need to start, right? Is you need enough people to start creating the art. You need a good website. Like, here's my thing. I would literally go and hire the guys who made manga decks and be like, I want to buy you your code, or for you to develop a new reader for me that's just going to be like a really good reader and a really good experience for people to read manga on. Because manga is read online now, right? Like, there's a lot of people who still buy volumes, but it's an online thing. So build a good site, get people in there to read it, publish it in Japan at the same time, and just, because people are going to be curious, like, oh, is this actually good? And then, go from there. Like, yes, produce volumes and see if people buy it. Maybe it's an oddity enough in Japan that people are like, oh, this is interesting, I'll check it out. And it just has to be good enough. It has to be not even good enough. It has to be great. Like, it has to be the best of the best. Like, and I think because there's such a huge untapped market, some of these people I think are probably working in comics now already, but would like to be working on manga or in manga. So there's a huge untapped market. I think there's tons of talent out there. It would be so easy to find 5 or 6 stories that are just going to they're going to blow stuff out of the water. I mean, like, yeah. I just like, maybe $10 million isn't enough in the long run, but like to get started. And then if you got some money coming in, the ball rolling, subscription service, whatever, sell t-shirts, I think you could go from there. Like, that's what I would want to do. I want to uplift those artists. I want to eventually I would want to pay somebody else to run the company, and I just want to be editor in chief. Like, I just want to choose the right stories. Like, my critical eye, I want to tell them how to fix their stories and how to do better. So
can I ask you another question?
Yeah.
Because that's a good answer. I think that's like I think that's a solid, and it'll help the industry in general. But
yeah, for sure.
Here's my spin on this question. If someone said they'd give you $10 million to do with what you want,
yeah,
but going forward and forever, all green colors will be red to you, will look red. Would you do it? Would you take the
I would go all the way down to probably $1 million for that one. I would say yes.
You would trade the color green for $1 million? You can never drive again, dude.
Money is freedom. No, you would. It's, the top one is red and the bottom one is green.
Yeah,
there's like one light in the United States that flips them for some stupid reason. I'm just not going to drive there.
You're going to be sleep deprived one day, and you're going to turn to a smear on the road. A perfectly red smear that you would be able to see, but a smear nonetheless.
I don't know, man. Having enough money to not have to work anymore is worth. I would give up a lot for that. Like I hate. I don't know about you. I hate working, dude. Working is the least favorite part of my entire life. So,
I don't know if I'd do it for $1 million, because
$2 million definitely. I've done the math. $2 million is enough to, if you like fully invest it, you get like you can get out every year $50,000 but cash basically, which is like.
I don't
more than I make
hike,
now, probably,
dude.
But yeah.
I'd go on a hike and I'd see a forest of blood. You know,
that'd be like, cool. You'd be like, hell, I'm in Dark Souls, baby. Let's go.
I don't know. It's tough. Yeah, okay. Maybe for $10 million, I would though. That's crazy money.
10 million is crazy. It's like you could help yourself completely be fine for the rest of your life and someone else, your whole family, right? Like that's
exactly.
Money,
that's insane money. I'd trade green for that shit.
Yeah.
I would not trade blue for it though.
What got you into reading manga? Here's this question.
Easy one. So I watched anime on Toonami. That's what got me into anime. I liked Dragon Ball Z and Naruto, and Yu Yu Hakusho. And then Naruto came out, and they only had like a few episodes of it, right? And of the dub, and I don't know why, but it ticked in my head in such a way that I was obsessed, and I wanted more. And then I found out about subbed anime if I just looked up Naruto episode 4. Mm-hmm. And I caught up on the sub, and I'm like, I want more even still. And then I learned that manga existed. Well, I guess I always knew because I had a few volumes of Yu Yu Hakusho. I just didn't know that all shows were like usually from a manga.
Everything you love in anime was actually a book first. It's not a thing that a child understands.
And I had manga. I had Pokemon manga, I had Yu Yu Hakusho, but I didn't process that. And then I learned about the Naruto manga. I caught up on all of that. And there's this website called One Manga that I used to like read. Yep. It's dead, but I used to read stuff on. And I caught up on all of the GOATs, like Fullmetal Alchemist, and I don't know, all that good stuff. I caught up on Bleach, which I don't know why I said that after I mentioned the GOATs, but but yeah, that's basically the gist of how I got into it.
Yeah.
And essentially, I just thought it was very cool how there is a medium where you can tell these over the top fantasy stories without having to worry about a CGI budget. You know,
yeah.
You can kind of just do whatever the fuck you want. And there's like stories that I had not seen in Western media, probably budgetary reasons, like I mentioned, that can just be expressed via art. It was very cool.
Yeah. It's a similar pathway for me. I'm going to guess that for most people in our age range, it's a similar pathway of you watch anime and it does not get to the end and you're like, I have to know what happens next. And you go and read. It's funny you mentioned Pokemon manga, because I think the first manga I ever read was a Pokemon manga online when I was in college. I was late. It was a fucked up manga. It's good though. Like
it's good. It's
legitimately pretty good. Yeah, I always tell people I was like a little late to the anime space, the Japanese media space. Like I grew up watching stuff like Pokemon, Digimon, like that was there, like Sailor Moon, stuff like that. But I never got Toonami. I never had cable growing up. So I literally had network television. So I never watched Dragon Ball Z. I never watched Cowboy Bebop when it aired. And then I went through, in college, I started watching more and more, and I saw the original Fullmetal Alchemist. I saw like Samurai 7 was one, which is like the Seven Samurai, but with robots, which is
that's
interesting.
Cool. I haven't heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah. But then that was sort of around the time where tell me if this is kind of true for you. It kind of coincides pretty closely with the swap from watching dubs to subs to me also was pretty closely related to also going and finding manga and reading it.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
It's essentially because we run out of stuff to.
Yeah, you run out of stuff and you're like, oh, well, I can watch. For me, it was Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood was like currently airing, and there was maybe 25 episodes, 26 episodes of it, and it was like there's 26 episodes dubbed in English, but there's like 40 episodes in Japanese with subs. And it was like, okay, well, I have to go watch that now.
Call me crazy, but that is like the one that I thought was easiest to switch between dub and sub because they sound very similar.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very
despite the language being different. Yeah.
The other one for me was K-On! K-On! 2! Season 2 was airing. And I was like, again, that is maybe my favorite anime of all time.
Is that the one where Mugi stole the strawberry, or did that happen in season 1?
No, Mugi, that's season 1. But season 2, like, I think it was only season 1 was dubbed, and I was like, well, there's more. Like, I have to see if there's more, and I was like, oh, there is more. There's a season 2, but it's not dubbed; it's only subbed. And around the same time, I had like there was some just picture. It was the picture of like Charmander getting cut in half. Do you know what I'm talking about? Or Slowpoke? Maybe it's a Slowpoke.
Oh, Charmeleon cuts Arbok in half.
Yes, yeah. There you go. That's it. I like saw that picture and I was like, "What is this? This is wild." Someone was like, "A wild image from the Pokemon manga," and I was like, "I love Pokemon. I should go read that." And I went and read like all the way through like Ruby Sapphire. I think I read up to like the Ruby Sapphire stuff, which was like
more than me. Yeah,
which was like 7 or 8 years of Pokemon manga publication. And it was cool. And it was like the first time I had to train myself to go right to left and all that stuff. The thing that really got me though was Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan really like, I think I just had like watched season 1 and I was, or even just part of season 1. And I was like, man, this is really cool. I really want to know what happens. And I just read like up to where we were at the time, which was like the very start of the Marley stuff. Like I think we were like 1 or 2 chapters into the Marley stuff. And then I read it monthly since then. But that was really the one where I would like watch an anime and was just like, I love this so much. I have to know where this goes and what happens. And then like I did the same with My Hero a couple of years later, where I was like, wow, season 1 of My Hero was so good. I have to know it happens, and kept reading. And you know, the manga at the time was pretty good. So after that, it was like, I read Berserk. I just like sat down, I was like, I need to read this. Everyone says this is the best. Like I read a bunch of Berserk. And then after that, it was like probably around the time that we met. And then you were just like talking more about manga than anime. And we're like, read this. We talked about My Hero and stuff. And then from there, it was just like new manga all the time and reading stuff. And then One Piece, which I started reading, I guess 4 years ago, almost 5 years ago now. That kind of really swapped me over to like, okay, I'll just read manga all the time. Like enjoyed our manga when it was like really at its peak. So yeah.
And you know, I'm happy to see manga blowing up like this because, you know, it's I've been on the train for so long that I've read like most of these things from chapter 1.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there are some annoying manga fans out there who want to show that they were there first.
Yes.
It's me. Anime threads, I hate the people that are like, "Oh, brother, you're not ready.
You don't even know. Get
like,
ready.
Shut the fuck up, dude.
I'm not
like, this conversation is not for you. Like, this is for people. This is for the anime people.
I am the kind of person. We have in my like friend Discord. We have a channel that is like about anime and manga. It's about anime, but I post about manga in it, even though nobody else fucking reads manga in there. And like, like when Dan aired, and everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, Dan, this was fucking cool. This is awesome." I like went back to like I guess it started in 2020, maybe 2021. Like when the third chapter had come out.
Yeah, I do that too. It's like I look forward to this anime. It'll be a good one. But
yeah,
that's like a recommendation based on what we read, right? What I'm talking about is like they want to show off, but they end up like spoiling something. You know, it's like, oh, I can't believe this character died. It's like, well, you won't be ready for what happens next. It's like, that's like a spoiler because you're setting them up to anticipate another death or like more chaotic. Like, I don't know. And some of them are very obvious. It's like, oh, I love this character. And they're like, uh-oh. And it's like, dude, you just spoiled that this character
you are
dies,
ruining
right?
things. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, come on.
Not that kind
Get it together.
No, I have a comment from June 22nd, 2021. And I say, where is the Dan anime announcement? The series has been out for 2 months. And then like a month later, I have like reminder to the channel that Dan and Dan is actually the best thing being published right now and absolutely the best new manga since Frieren, or Frieren. And so it's like, I like doing that of being like, I like telling my friends like, you're going to like this. This is going to be big. And then they just like, don't respond to say nothing. And then in 4 years, 3 years, whatever, it's like, wow, this anime is really good. It's like, I fucking told you, read the manga. It's right there.
I have a Q&A question for the audience.
Okay, let's do it. Get in the comments.
Does it piss you off that we say Frieren 3 different ways?
And
we're never consistent about it.
We said it wrong. It's Frieren. Frieren is the correct pronunciation. It's Are
you sure? How sure are you about that?
I am 95% sure that the German, I have gone to German pronunciation, typed the word, because it just means frozen or cold in German, right? You type it in, you say, show me the German pronunciation, and the woman goes, Frieren. It's Frieren.
Oh, okay, got it. Can anyone who's German kind of chime in, though? Yeah, because...
in German or Austrian people here.
I do appreciate that we're just shooting from the hip with no consistency in how we say Frieren's name.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard because we said it. When it first came out and we talked about it, we didn't know how to say it. We talked about it on the podcast. We're like, is it Frieren or Frieren? It's like, Frieren kind of sounds better. Let's say Frieren. So we said that for months, and then it just kind of, it happens. But hey, it's the side effect of if it is a good thing to read a word and not know how to say it, because you know that word. You just don't know how to pronounce it because you've never heard anyone say it before. But no, it is Frieren.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. But I fear that once we become consistent, every German name in that series, we will have to be consistent.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We're definitely still saying it with an American twang. Like,
yeah, that's for sure.
Frieren.
Yeah, we definitely twang it.
Cool. Okay, let's keep going. Let's get spicy. What is the worst manga fan base?
Huh. Yeah. That's a good question. Do you have one off the you have one off the rip?
The top of my head, they're not. I guess they're not around anymore. The top of my head thing, just from being on manga Twitter, was the Jujutsu Kaisen leak fan base is maybe the worst one.
Oh yeah,
they're gone now because the series is over. But like the people in general did not like that group. That's kind of a subgroup, I guess, of the Jujutsu Kaisen fan base. But yeah.
I'd say the people who harassed Ishida after Tokyo Ghoul's ending fucking sucked.
Okay, yeah.
But I think that's like an easy gimme, right?
Can we just say power scalers? Is that one?
Yes.
do they count?
Because that's what I was actually going to say is kind of the One Piece fan base is I don't like them that much.
The problem is that when any fan base gets sufficiently large, there is like, if 100 people are a fan of a series and one of them is a shitter, there's not a shitter community for that series, and the fan base seems great. And that kind of goes until you reach like a critical limit, and suddenly if there's 10,000 shitters, they form their own community and they are very loud. So like any sufficiently large series or anything will always have a small segment, and One Piece is easily the largest manga fan base probably around right now. So there's a large fan base of shitters in that, are just annoying to deal with.
And maybe this is hypocritical, right? But they are getting too in the weeds. People get too in the weeds about everything.
Yes.
They hold characters within this cartoon Goofy series to like real life human standards that they would expect of a friend of theirs. And they're like, oh, Usopp is a terrible human being. Oh, Luffy is abhorrent for this one, And then they get pissed off that Gear 5 is just cartoon mode. You
are watching Pirate Looney Tunes. Yeah. Open your brain, my dude. It's Pirate Looney Tunes. That's what it is.
And we're talking about One Piece, but this like applies to a lot of anime fan bases. It's just like, why are you getting so in the weeds? Why are you ruining the fun for yourself? It's like, and to be honest, we get in the weeds a lot, so this is definitely just hypocritical. But
we're deep diving though. We're deep diving.
It's different, bro. Yeah, it's different.
Yeah.
But the I feel like the difference is actually there is no difference. We're just hypocrites. But either way, it pisses me off when I see other people do it. Quit overthinking good content. Just have fun.
My least favorite like subset of that subset, and like I like making predictions and thinking like, ooh, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? What I don't like doing is people will do these hypothetical questions of like, what do you think would happen if the crew never met Brooks? Like, who cares? Nobody fucking cares. Like, what do you think would happen if Chopper died in Alabasta? Like, why are we asking these questions? They don't mean that. And people do this shit like all the time on the One Piece subreddit and on Twitter and stuff. It's like, why are we asking these like insane, like, what do you think would have happened if Luffy died instead of awakened Gear 5? Like, who cares?
Oh, yeah, that series would have ended. That's what would happen.
It's a hypothetical. There's nothing interesting. The real story is more interesting. Stop asking these stupid hypotheticals. They do this so many times. Like, what do you think would happen if Robin didn't ask for help? Like, who cares? That's so stupid. I hate those hypothetical, this changes the whole, it would be a different story. The answer to all of those, it would be a completely different story. What would happen? It would be a different story. And that's just a stupid answer for a stupid question.
So I'm like a fan of like seeing how people would think. So I like general hypotheticals, but I hate those hypotheticals because it is like it's to no end. You know what I mean? It's like
you could keep asking.
It's
those
not
questions.
even an interesting conversation. Is the problem?
There's literally an infinite number of. What do you think would happen if Luffy kicked with his left foot to break Arlong's tower instead of his right foot? Like,
that would
who
be
cares?
Crazy, bro.
Yeah. Those the hypothetical, what do you think would happen if X event was different in a story? How would it change the rest of the story? The answer is the story would be different. Who cares? It's not like, who cares? Those really make me angry. So
yeah. And you know, I think we should bring up power scalers one more time because they are the worst.
Yes.
It's like you were missing the point. Is like the fights are in service to the plot. Whoever Oda wants to win will win.
Is there
ultimately?
So One Piece power scalers, sure. Do you think there is a specific other series of power scalers that maybe makes the issue worse for everyone? That's a leading question.
That makes the issue. What do you mean?
I will answer my own question. The reason we have power scalers that are like this is because of Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
Like it just is because of power levels in Dragon Ball Z. Like the only reason people are like Goku could beat everybody, like that has been such a ingrained question in Dragon Ball Z lore that there's always that kind of people. But Dragon Ball Z broke people's brains because there was like a number attached to it, and like the whole thing was about fights. So I blame Dragon Ball Z for this.
And Dragon Ball Z is, for what it's worth, it's like very on the nose about what it is. It's like they have a thing called a tournament of power. Power is all that matters in that universe, you know?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
It's like how strong you are is your value to the story. It's not like a ultra deep show. It's like
it's very focused on combats and fights. Everything is resolved with a fight. So you like, and
so it's not even DBZ's fault. It's the DBZ fans that take it elsewhere.
Well, yeah, okay,
because we blame the people for this, you know, not Akira Toriyama for writing a dumb fun series.
That's true. Yeah.
But I ultimately power scalers are the worst. They miss the whole fucking point. It doesn't matter. I think it's like and they value characters based on how strong they are in stories that they really shouldn't be putting that much value in it. Like Sanji versus Zoro, who's stronger? Who gives a fuck? Well, it's like, Zoro, but who cares?
Yeah, I liked it. It's like, who cares? It's Zoro, but who cares?
Yeah.
My favorite is when they cross over with series that are like very intentionally making fun of power scale. Like anytime anyone is like, "Ooh, could Goku beat Saitama?" It's like, no. Like the reality of Saitama exists in his universe as an answer to he is always the strongest, always, no matter what. Yeah. And that is the gag, right? Is the gag is he's the strongest of all time. So no one could ever beat Saitama. He's
the literal punchline. You know, like he that's what Saitama is. Of course, the nature of that character is that why do so many people pit Saitama against characters? It's just like,
because they know that he's like, he's Superman of anime and manga, basically, right? Like he's the strongest of the strong. He can do everything. He's that. So they're like, could Goku be Superman? Is the same question as could Goku beat Saitama? So
it's just that nobody can beat Saitama because the plot, One Punch Man's plot is that you can't beat Saitama.
Yes, you know, quote me on this. If Saitama ever straight up loses a fight in One Punch Man, that series is like over. the alternate is that like he could get tricked or locked away or like something weird, but like Saitama can't ever lose a fight in that series or the entire joke is dead like that. So it just won't happen.
And he constantly takes L's in his daily life. That's part of the gag.
Yeah. Or or he takes an L for other stuff like that. Exactly. That is the whole joke. So, okay. Do you want to do one or two more?
But hold on. I do think that we should just say the name of a fan base and give no further context.
Oh, okay.
That we think is the worst.
This will be for some short that I do later. Awesome. Okay. What is the worst manga fan base, Gautam?
The Otome game fan base. I'm kidding. Don't come for me. I'd say I'll stick to One Piece. I think they are hard to engage with. I think most of them are well intentioned, but I think the discourse is either pointless or missing the point. You know,
this is an endorsement of watchers and lurkers. If you're not commenting on stuff, you're not part of the problem, and you're probably a good fan, and we appreciate you. I'm gonna say Hunter x Hunter, and we can just move on. So.
You know what?
I think anyone who supports that dog shit man who can't let go of a series is.
You know what? I said no context and provided context, and I want to talk to you, have a serious discussion about what you just said, but by the rules I said,
I'll read it someday.
By the rules I said, I can't. So
I'll read it someday and change my mind. I'm sure. Let's do this one. I like this one. Why can't shonen series end well? We got two big ones this year. We got My Hero Academia and Jujutsu Kaisen. I think both of their endings were considered pretty underwhelming by majority, or at least a large section of the fan base. I know Bleach people are pretty down on the ending, right? Naruto, I never hear anyone talk about how that series ended. What else is out there?
I could speak to that, but I can speak to Naruto and Bleach, but
you'll probably have to because I haven't read those. So why can't any of these big, super popular shonen like Demon Slayer? The ending, I think people were just like, it was fine.
That was a good ending. I think that was a good ending.
It was okay.
Personally,
I feel like people just didn't talk about it that much. Like it's never like, oh my gosh, this ending. Like the way people talked about something like Attack on Titan, which was divisive, but I think a very good ending. So,
is that how you say divisive?
Divisive. It's that's an either or thing. I think.
Is it okay? It's an either or thing.
Either. The actual answer is that it depends on the vowel sounds you are using before and after it.
I'm sorry I got us lost in the weeds.
Yeah.
I that was on me. Why can't shonen end well? There's absolutely no universal answer to that, because in my opinion, like JJK is, because it felt like I haven't even read it, so I'm just like speaking through osmosis of what I've heard, is that the author stopped enjoying writing it or something.
Yeah.
So let's not even talk about JJK.
Because that applies to Bleach too, maybe, right? You can confirm, like, they made him write that series for 700 chapters, and it seems like he didn't really like writing the last half of it. So. And
Kupo is like seemingly sick during it too, so it didn't sound too fun. But I think it's very much the same thing for Horikoshi in My Hero Academia. It's like you could see the burnout.
He lost it. He lost it years before the ending. So, which we talked about. You can go watch our episode where we talked about that ending. So.
And I think ultimately, right, it's like, you have an end-tier series, and it's like you have a certain timeline and chapters to get there, and you're in peak burnout all at the same time. So it's like, I think the burnout contributes to bad endings more than people would think.
Yeah.
I think that's probably one of the bigger things is,
I think it's a big part of it.
If your motivation is at like, if the gas gauge is like negative, then you're not going to produce like an excellent ending. Yeah. Unless you already have it planned out in some way.
I mean, everybody's probably written a long paper in college or high school or whatever and gotten, and you get 70 of the way percent through it and you're like, okay, this is pretty good. And you're like, man, I just got to get to the end. And the last part of your paper is like, it's just bad. Like that was like every paper I wrote in college was like, starts really good, pretty good in the middle, and then you get to a certain point and you're just like, I'm out of stuff to say and I have to end it and I need 3 more pages. And so you just kind of do what you got to do to get to the end.
And mangaka can't really increase the font of every single period in the paper and
exactly
scam the page length that way. So it's like, you got to do what you got to do. I also think it's like a lot of these shonen things are are like arc to arc villains,
Yeah,
and
that's
there
that's what I was
is
going to point out.
not a huge through line that is set up initially, right? Like Bleach there is a through line, don't get me wrong, but it is very clearly a through line that was included in retrospect.
Yeah,
You know,
there's no like big bad from start, and when you defeat him at the end, the series ends. Like that's the Demon Slayer, I guess, would be like that, right? Like pretty early on, I guess maybe even chapter 1, right? You're introduced to whatever the main demon is that kills his family.
Yeah,
that's the bad guy, and that guy dies at the end. Spoilers, and that's the end of the story, right? Like so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
that's a pretty short one. I mean,
yeah,
Demon Slayer's only what, like 140, 170 chapters, something like that. So, which is decently short. So
it's just tough to end your series when you have a villain that you introduced not so long ago.
Yeah.
And make it satisfying, because it is a recent threat, and then you're saying, okay, that's a wrap.
Yeah.
It's not something the audience is as connected to as someone like I don't know, like you know how Full Metal Alchemist, you have Fuhrer King Bradley, who's in the series the whole time.
Yeah, exactly.
And like it makes his moments towards the end of that series all the more special because you understand him. You've seen him.
Yeah, exactly.
You are intimidated by him constantly throughout the series. Those building blocks have been set up, so any kind of climactic confrontation feels satisfying.
Yeah.
Whereas
that's a side effect.
Has like villains introduced willy-nilly, so it doesn't feel as great.
Yeah, that's a side effect of two things. One of them is that serialization, just the act of something being a serial, is a week-to-week thing. It's kind of written as it's created. Not being able to plan ahead or having time to plan ahead, again, that's like burnout. It's just kind of the fact of like, here's a question. I'm trying to think of something else that like was a serial, like the Sherlock Holmes stories were serials at one point. Do you know how Sherlock Holmes ends?
He dies.
Okay, he does.
Him and Moriarty fall off a bridge and kill themselves.
I think that it's something like that.
Something like that.
Okay,
right?
you spoiled my point, but like no one really remembers the end of Sherlock Holmes. The last story of Sherlock Holmes is not an important one, right? Like it's all the other serial things that happened, all the other mysteries he solved. Because like ending a serial is hard because you're used to, again, like you point out, these like week to week villains, these arc to arc villains. That's kind of the pattern that you get into. And then it's like, well, how do you end that? And it's like, well, I guess you just introduce another one and he's the biggest one and then he dies and it's over. And that doesn't feel good. And
I can't speak to JJK. I have no idea why that ended badly, but
those weren't going to be.
Can you think of any other? Can you think of any other shonen that ended poorly? You'd say, off the top of your head.
Not poorly necessarily, but like
not including ones that got axed, because that's not
I mean, I'm trying to think of like action shonen, because Kaguya-sama, like that. I didn't love the last 20 or so chapters of that series. That's a shonen romance.
I liked it.
I liked it. It's just worse than the rest of it. Like, yeah.
Because I'm thinking of just like good example. Like Chainsaw Man was fucking sick.
Chainsaw Man had a great ending. Yeah, Chainsaw Man had a good one. They aren't all bad. The true answer here, and this again I will provide without context and we'll move on, is that shonen action writers are not very good writers, and so they just don't know how to end stuff. They're just bad at it. Move on. They just aren't good. It's just not a talent they have. Because again, it kind of ties into like they're a serial writer. They're used to just sort of doing little arcs, and so they don't get to practice a big ending very often. They're just bad. A better writer could end better. Everything, like I'll bring this up later when I talk about one of his series. Every single ending Naoki Urasawa has ever written has been phenomenal, fantastic. That guy also writes serials. His stories are very, very serial, presented. So yeah, and he's a great writer. And these shonen action authors, not as good authors.
And can I cite a few older examples of shonen?
Yeah, sure.
Shonens with bad endings. This one's debatable, but Dragon Ball Z, everybody loved. Everybody
didn't it just peter out. Like I don't know.
It kind of.
That's kind of what I assume is that like I never hear people talk about it. I assume it just kind of like petered out and got worse and worse and less important. And
it ended after the Boo saga.
Yeah.
And this is before Super came out, right? But it ended after the Boo saga, and the problem is like Akira Toriyama like had ideas and things working during the Cell saga, and everyone was invested. And compared to Cell, Boo was like, I don't know, not it. I suppose. I think people like it more in retrospect, like nowadays, right? Like nowadays, people look more fondly on the Boo saga, but I don't think it's a stretch to say it's the weakest one, and it just like kind of ended. And then there was the infamous fucking ending. Your hero Togashi of Hunter x Hunter fame.
Oh, isn't it really bad? Don't people talk about how bad the ending is?
It hasn't ended.
Oh, sorry. No, I was thinking Yu Yu Hakusho. Sorry. Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. Actually, yeah, it's Yu Yu Hakusho. I love that fucking manga. Amazing.
It's a bad ending though, right?
Abysmal.
Yeah, I've heard people talk about it. Isn't he just like like two chapters? Yeah, tell me, it's just like two chapters just ends, right? Like
basically, it's like a series of tournament arcs, and which is great. That's what you're here for. And they're interesting tournament arcs. But the final one is like the ultimate Demon Realm tournament arc to see who will be the king of the Demon Realm.
Yeah.
Yusuke pitched the idea to all the demons, and they're like, okay, yeah, let's decide who's the guy. Yusuke loses his fight, and then he passes out, and then he wakes up, and the whole thing's over. and
in the series sense?
No, not even
okay.
Yet. It's like they're like they explain what's happening and who won, and he's like, oh, okay. And then he's called off on another spirit investigator mission, and basically there's a bomb that's about to go off, like a bomb
like
that's
a real bomb or like a demon bomb.
It's like I think a demon bomb that's gonna break the threshold of the demon realm, some shit like that. Sure. But he's called in to like defuse the bomb, and so are his buddies. They're all there too, and they're like, oh shit, the timer is about to go off, and we don't know which wire to cut. And Yusuke's like, we're just gonna have to wing it. And he cuts Keiko, his love interest, pretty much girlfriend at that point, favorite colored wire, and it diffuses the bomb. And his friends tell Keiko about it, and they both are flustered, and that's how it ends.
That is
insanity.
Miserable.
I don't know what he was cooking with that one, dude. So funny.
But yeah, that's what I'm talking about, right? Is that these guys write these serials, and it's just like, how do we end it? I don't know.
That one was very much Togashi did not want to do this anymore.
Yeah,
for sure. He even said so. So it's like, it's just burnout again. Is the cause.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I guess to answer this question like unilaterally, I'd say burnout probably.
Yeah. Should I ask the very last question on our list or the second to last one? Which one should we end on here?
Let's do that. The second to last one because it's funny.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This one reads very simply, "Why you hate Tower of God?" Which is directed at me because I do not like Tower of God.
I like it. I don't hate it.
I do not like that.
Let's have an argument about this.
Yeah. So the main reason I don't like it is because he is doing discovery writing, and I don't think they're doing it very well.
Explain discovery writing.
So there are two kind of types of writing. There's a continuum, and you know, if you're a writer, you're somewhere in the middle of it. Discovery writing is where you create, a situation, or maybe you create a character with personality, you put them there, and then you don't know what's going to happen, and you write. An example of this is like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, in my opinion, is the most kind of prominent discovery writing you can find in manga, and you'll know if you've read or experienced JoJo's that, yeah, Araki has no fucking idea how he's going to solve the problems when he introduces them, and that's why it feels so wacky and zany and random, right? He's literally saying, okay, JoJo's in this situation, this guy has mirror powers, and how does he, how do we do it? Oh, he finds the water, and the water's a mirror, whatever, right? Like, he's just figuring out as he goes along. In general, I prefer stuff that is on the other side of the spectrum, which you would call kind of planned writing or planning writing, where you kind of figure out, where your story is going to go, and you've planned, the sort of finality of it. For example, like almost all of my favorite manga, I would say, are extremely well planned. Stuff like Attack on Titan, Monster, things like that, where it's like, yeah, from the very start, you kind of know that if you read Monster. If you've read all of Monster and you go and reread Volume 1, you know all these facts about Johan, where he comes from because that was planned out. And again, it's a continuum, so most authors fall somewhere where they'll discovery write, a little bit or a lot, or, they'll plan out the ending, but they'll discovery write to get there, and then they'll go back and rewrite. The thing Give me 1 second.
See, I see where you're coming from, but I think it's a hard sell because this is all shown in manga, but also it's like you have to account for popularity,
yes.
right? It's like maybe you expected your thing to be 100 chapters, but it is hugely popular, and then your publishers are like, we want more of this, man, and this is your big break. Of course, you're going to make more. And you feel like you have more stories to tell within the world, but it's not as thought out as the 100 chapters that you had planned in your head.
Yep. That's what I think happened to My Hero Academia. Exactly. Like there were things that he had thought about previously and he got through them. And then after that, he had to do some discovery writing to figure out where it was going. And those discovery written things are not as good.
Yeah. He discovered My Hero Vigilantes and used that. That was cool.
Yeah. But the reason that those terms and definitions that I used, sort of discovery and planned writing, those are from people who write books. And the thing about a book is, if you're a discovery writer, the way that you would write a book is you would say, here's my situation, here's my characters, figure out what happens. You would write all the way through it, discovery. You would get to the end and you would say, okay, cool, there's my ending. And then you go back through the book and you rewrite things to make them match that ending. That is almost what every discovery writer does. There's very few people who can just discovery write to the end of a book and then publish it. It's like maybe only Stephen King does that, and that man has written 400 books. And Stephen King is definitely more on the discovery writing side, because if you ever read a Stephen King book, a lot of his endings people don't really like either. A lot of his endings are weird and bad because he just kind of just gets there and discovers them and is like, all right, I'm at 400 pages, time to end the book. But
yeah, well, the book can only go as long as the cocaine lasts.
Yes. Well, yeah, for his first 20 years or so, that's true. But so the issue there when it comes to manga is that you cannot discover, get to an ending, and then go back and rewrite so that it makes more sense to get to that ending. You are publishing weekly or monthly or every 2 weeks. You're publishing a serial. So you discover, you publish a chapter, and then you're discovering the next chapter. And that means that if you make any little mistakes, or if you're trying to get to an ending, or if you haven't figured it out, but you figure it out halfway through, readers can tell. And that, tying this all the way back to Tower of God. Tower of God is really interesting. But every single time they get to a new floor, I'm like, there was no foreshadowing for this. They invent a magic system like 15, 20 chapters in, the Mizu water thing. There is no foreshadowing. There is no example of the main character, anyone using this water power. And then suddenly in this random chapter, it's introduced. Everyone has it. The main character is really good at it. And then that is a power system from then on. But it is never foreshadowed. It is never used in the past.
That's because the lower floors are too weak to understand that system. It's like
but all the people who made it through were like consistent characters, and they didn't use that power. And they get there, and the guy's like, I guess I need a power system. Like literally, I think probably somebody told him like, hey, you need a power system. He invented one. But that happens over and over and over in this series of like, you get to a new floor. There's this thing that hasn't been foreshadowed at all. He like invents this new thing. It happens for the floor, and then it's forgotten in the next floor, like is another new thing that he's invented at the time. Like there's no cohesion between the floors. It isn't like,
but I think that is the appeal. Isn't it? Like a Tower of God is that it's like a different thing. Every single arc is like a completely different, like there's a train in one arc. There's like a battle royale in one arc. It's like, it's always keeping you on your toes so the formula never gets stale.
I can see the appeal in that. I think that you can do those cool things and still tie them together with certain world building or just, certain written things like that were just not in the story. Sense. Wait, what'd you say?
Yeah. Are you saying make more sense and how it all fits together?
Yes. Because I mean, like, quite literally, it just like, which is why I talk so much about this discovery writing thing is that, and I don't even know if it's true. Maybe he did plan it all out and that's just how he writes. But like the way that story feels is that story feels like chapter 1, the only thing that he had planned was the betrayal at the end. Like, I think that's probably planned from chapter 1. That
was definitely planned.
Yeah. And then like you have the weird.
I think everything involving Rachel was planned.
Yeah.
Everything, even now. Like I think the Rachel stuff is all planned.
If she's even still in the story, I have not kept up with it.
Yeah.
But so like that, I think that stuff was planned. But then like he goes through with the weird rabbit dude, and then like randomly in the story he invents like, oh, the rabbit dude is like one member of this weird council of like guys, and that are all like they're all like creating their own little floor ownership things. And it's like, that isn't like, I don't know. There's so many of the ideas in Tower of God feel like they were just made up as soon as they appear. Like there's like literally no foreshadowing in Tower of God, like except for the one thing that I think feels planned from the start, which was the Rachel betrayal, right? Which again is, I think, the good part of Tower of God. Like I don't really have any problems with that part. I have problems with like, I think it's the worst world building in like any majorly popular series. Like I absolutely hate the tower.
Okay, so I think to your point that is fair, because there are a bunch of factions in Tower of God, and what I know about the factions is that there are factions.
Yeah,
and I'm not quite sure what they all entail, but the fans do. So maybe we're the assholes.
I mean, I've only read the first arc, whatever that's called.
I've read all of it, so I don't know. But another thing that doesn't make sense to me either is I don't know how the magic system works even now. I just know that they do cool stuff.
Yeah. Well, and like, so I read all of the first part, like whatever you want to call that. Like, and then you start into the second part and it's like a bunch of people in a hotel doing some kind of killing game thing. It made like, it has like nothing to do with anything. No, it wasn't. It was stupid. And again, like it was so random. The main characters change, which is fine if you can introduce new compelling characters. But the problem with me when I got to that one was that I actually didn't understand how that game worked, other than like, I think they're trying to kill each other, but there's some weird rules. But that's like where I dropped it, right? Is I like read the first part and I was like, it was okay. It was cool. I mean, it looks good sometimes. And I like started reading more of it and I was like, what the fuck is this?
I think it's the author played Danganronpa like recently.
Yeah, I would believe that.
And wanted to put that.
I can do this. Again, they discover. I'll just discover the video game I'm playing and put it in my manga. But yeah,
I suppose like, and maybe this is like not good, but when I read Tower of God, I just accept that I don't fully understand how these things work, and move on. And like probably under a critical eye of like, you should be understanding this, right? Like, it falls apart.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's just something I'm just like, okay, he shoots laser beam. Okay, cool. And then I go to the next chapter. I
agree with you that it's just,
I think it's fun. It's a fun series.
Yeah, there is a distinctly different feeling for something like Tower of God, where it's like, I don't really get how this works. And something like Attack on Titan, where you start out and you're like, I don't really get how the Titans work. Nobody does, and nobody does in the story either. And you discover it along the way.
Yeah. But there's no, like, I see what you mean, because it changes all the time. There's no like consistent through line thread in your eyes.
Well, and I mean, that's a small part of it. It's more just that, like, especially for the like power system type thing, it's like, I feel like I don't fully understand it, but I also feel like in the story, every single other person understands it perfectly, and it has never been communicated to me. And I think that is a big disconnect. Do you feel the same way?
The problem is, I don't know if it has been communicated to me, and I just, maybe my eyes glazed over.
I mean, at least not in the parts that I read. It was definitely just sort of this like, water, you have water and some people can use the water and pierce the water, and I can't even describe it because I don't remember it enough, but like,
because I would agree, but then I'm caught up, so somebody would be like, actually in chapter 162 they clearly explicitly state this, and I'd be like, fuck, you're right, maybe I forgot about chapter 162 and how they explicitly blah blah blah. I don't know. I just, the series is that is one of those series that I can see why people would like it, but that it goes against all of the types of things that I like in a story, which is like, I like things to be well planned out. I love like foreshadowing a lot. I like things that are character focused. I do not think Tower of God is a character focused story. I think the main character is lame as fuck. Like there's like, it hits on all of my, like, I need these things for me to really enjoy a story. And it's like, no foreshadowing, bad world building, lame characters. Like, those are the big three, which is like, I just don't like it has cool action, and like it has the magic systems, and like some of the side characters are cool, but those are less important than the main character, who I think is just an absolute lame-o. I don't know. Very specifically for me, I dislike Tower of God more than other series, because it's just the things that I want to really like about a series, it does really poorly, I think. I will cede the world building and power confusion to you, and I will also add on that Bam doesn't have much of a personality. Yeah. Kind of a brick wall protagonist we got going on. But I will say I like it for the same reasons I like Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door, in that every single thing is different. So if you don't like the current arc, just keep reading, and the next one will be completely different. It's like you never get it always keeps you on your toes in that it's always changing, and that might be a problem if you're trying to invest yourself in the series. But if you're there for the ride, then I don't know, it's kind of fun.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Let's call it for Q&A there.
Wait, let me ask you one final question.
Okay,
I
sure.
thought of just now.
Sure, let's hear.
We'll keep it short.
We'll finish it.
You have to cancel one popular ongoing manga.
Hunter x Hunter.
Yeah,
Sorry,
you can't say Hunter x Hunter because it's too easy. It's too
Okay,
easy.
fine.
We talked about it too much. And it will revive, and you can revive one axed manga in exchange.
Ooh.
And you're the head of manga for all manga.
Head of
So
manga
you can
for
just
all
pick
manga.
any.
Okay, I can't say Hunter x Hunter because that is
And you can't say Hunter x
absolutely
Hunter.
what I would say.
Togashi is a treasure. He's untouchable. You can't touch him.
I mean, my first thought here is that I would probably do something that is popular that I don't like. So my first thought there is Noe's Exorcist. That's something that we both thought were just awful and is incredible, like really, really popular now. Frankly, if there's anything else that maybe just like deserves to be canceled for other reasons. I'm trying to what's in Shonen Jump right now. No, I think it's probably that seems like an easy answer, but it's probably Nue's Exorcist. Every time I look at people talking about it, I'm like, man, I didn't really like the start of it. Maybe I should go back and read it. And everyone's like, it's basically a light novel story with a harem, and they were some cool action and cool designs. And I was like, well, that's basically what chapter 1 felt like. Was it's very generic, had some cool action and cool designs, but that's what I didn't like about it. So if it's the same series, I don't think I would like to continue reading it. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm on board, dude. Fuck that series.
Yeah.
I only read one chapter, and I'm just rallying behind the hatred because it's funny. But
for Revive series,
yeah, who's your Revive?
Oh man, okay, I'm kind of torn between 2 or 3 here. I think Martial Master Asumi deserved better.
Oh,
that's a big one.
So much
I also think that Vibration Man. I think if given more time, I think Vibe Man people would have latched onto and been like, oh, it's more My Hero. But then it's actually better before it was canceled. Both of those.
That was also a tragedy.
I think Vibe Man maybe had more potential, but MMA was so solid from the start. And I really wanted to see that one continue. And so I was really sad. But one of those two would probably be my Revive.
We'll pick one.
I'll do Vibe Man. I want to prove My Hero Academia likers wrong every time. So I would choose Vibe Man in that.
Vibe Man, yeah.
Vibration Man is, yeah. What about you, Gatem? Cancel something and revive something. What would you do?
Okay, I would cancel Oshinoko because it's a really funny time to cancel Oshinoko.
Just for the lulz? Just sorry, got canceled. No more chapters.
Yeah.
Oh, God, that's funny.
And I would revive Ginka and Luna.
Ginka and Luna, yep. That's a good one.
Excellent.
That one also had a lot of potential that I think it
did.
I think it could have gone places and done things. But yeah, the other one I was thinking about was Tenmaku Cinema. I think if they would have given that one more time, it would have been really beautiful. And I think that was a really good series. I think those guys just didn't quite. Yeah, they didn't choose a topic that was super interesting. So
I don't
know if that one actually would have worked, but
because it's just I don't know how you can. A manga about movie making is really tough to convey in an interesting way, and I don't think they managed that despite me enjoying the series.
Yeah, it was one of those things that's this is really pretty good, but also not very interesting.
For some reason. Not universal like food,
yeah.
And it's it appeals to turbo nerds like us, but it's
or people who are really into movies, which I feel like I am, but there's not the crossover is even food, naked girls, and anime manga, big crossovers. Super specific behind the scenes movie watchers, and manga much smaller people. So yeah,
we would like it, but it's I don't see it holding an audience.
Yeah, it does not have mass appeal. But
yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, bring back Vibration Man, bring back Ginka and Luna, and bring back Martial Master Asumi. That's where we are.
And we cancel Nue's Exorcist and Oshinoko. Perfect.
And Hunter x Hunter by default.
He's untouchable, dude. They'll demote you from your position. They'll freak out.
Here's the thing is that we don't even, if you're a fan of that series, you don't need to worry about it being canceled. You need to worry about its author dying, and it's just going to end anyways. And you're not going to get a satisfying ending because the author's going to die.
They're all
Like
the Hunter x Hunter fans all know, they're all terrified of that possibility.
I mean, he's what, like almost 70 now, like 65 or something.
Oh no way, Togashi's like 50 or something. Right?
Really? Look it up.
I think.
I think he's like
58.
58. Okay, I was going to say, I was like, he's got to be like 61, but okay.
But he's
in
also
poor health, like 58 in poor health. So.
Yeah, he's in poor health. I hope he's doing well, man. And Godspeed, Togashi. You really made Shonen Jump a thing.
Here's my real answer is if you cancel Hunter x Hunter, Togashi can then recover his body, and then he'll be fine. He'll be fine, right?
You were stealing his dream from him by doing that.
Oh God, I know. Well, the other weird thing is that if and when he dies and it's still ongoing, or if it was I guess not if it's canceled, but like if he dies, he doesn't have assistants working on the series with him. So there's no one to continue carrying the torch. So as soon as he dies, the series just ends on that chapter, which is like,
oh, so apparently he does have a lot of assistants.
What do they do? There's no backgrounds to draw. Are they drawing text bubbles? What are they doing?
I don't know. I don't know.
He's just supposed to get him coffee or rub his back or something. Like they can't be drawing manga for him because surely not, right?
They drew that one turkey I showed you.
Maybe. Okay. We do have some news to get through, so I'll go through it kind of quick here. We got Fire Force Anime Season 3 announced, 2 more cores to finish the series. I'm excited for that. The end of that series is going to blow people's minds. It's going to be awesome.
Cool.
My Hero Academia.
That's perfect. And David's on it?
I believe so. I don't know if they announced a series or not, but I do hope it's David, because Fire Force is some of the best action anime has seen in the last 5 years. So the My Hero Academia final volume 60, has 60 new pages, possibly sort of post-event chapters or just bonus content. I'm going to guess there's some kind of prologue here. No, epilogue.
Yeah.
Epilogue's the end.
You're right.
Yeah, there's some kind of epilogue here, but yeah, 60 new pages will be cool. We should be getting that. I think that's maybe first week of December that comes out, or soon in November. I'm not sure. Steins Gate reboot announced. And before you get excited, it's the visual novel game. But I really like Steins Gate, so I thought I'd throw that in there.
That is a masterpiece. Someone chime in the comments and tell us if that's good. Is it worth
the visual novel? I mean, it's considered one of the very best visual novels, I would say, still. So.
But it's like, did I get everything out of the anime that I would have gotten out of the novel is what I'm asking.
I'm sure that it's more abbreviated because the visual novel takes 25 hours to beat, and the anime is, 26 episodes, so it's 8 hours or something. So
I guess it's just is it a good, is the 25 hours well spent? Or did I get what I would get out of the anime? I don't know.
I think you probably got it out of the anime. I mean, everyone loves the anime, so. Cherry's Love is 8 meters tall, is ending in 5 more chapters. This is that romance about a giant girl. People really like this in the West. I don't know how they felt about it in Japan, but interesting to see this either axed or just ending in, a little over a year.
How tall is 8 meters? It is 8.7 yards.
8 meters is 25 feet or so, 24.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Right.
She's an Attack on Titan.
Yeah, she's like the middle size Attack on Titan.
Yeah.
Kotoyama, the author, who is the author of Call of the Night and Dagashi Kashi, is publishing a new 2-part short story titled Minasoko in Weekly Shonen Sunday. That'll be interesting. They're a very popular author. See what they do there.
I hear Call of the Night's good. I should read that.
I know. It's literally sitting in my manga reading app of this is a thing you should read. It's on your list, and I have not touched it. But yeah, people just really like it, so we should check it out. Honeko Akabane's Bodyguards is ending in 3 chapters. I thought this was really popular and selling really well, and I thought that it had taken off and got an anime adaptation announced, I believe. But it's ending, so it's not very many chapters. I want to say you're maybe 100, maybe not even.
I'm not caught up on this, but it's probably a planned ending then, right?
I hope so. I didn't really hear one way or the other. Twitter comments are not good about saying this makes perfect sense with where we are in the story. So I hope it is a planned ending. I think maybe you should go back and check it out because I think this is a good series. Read early on, just kind of didn't keep up with it. But
you know what? I changed my mind. I'd cancel this and I'd bring back Siren from 2005.
Crazy Food. The author of Crazy Food Truck, which I know that we both read way back in maybe 2019, 2020 when it was published. That author, Rokuro Ogaki, is starting a new treasure hunting manga titled Shogun's Gold in America. Speaking of manga coming to America, here's another one. The two characters in this look exactly like, not exactly, but very, very, very similar to the two main characters from Crazy Food Truck. I really liked Crazy Food Truck. It went pretty wild.
It lost me.
At the very end.
I think when they fell in love.
Yeah, the romance thing. Yeah, that was not great. But I thought the rest of it was really fun and interesting. And like driving across the desert in a food truck and being an ex-assassin, like that's cool. Like, I don't know. It had a lot of original ideas that I thought it was good. So we'll see how this one goes.
I like that too. I thought them dying, it got too serious. Like
it did at the end. Yeah.
Stick to Goofy and cooking.
Yeah, I think he got canceled though. So it's our acts. So I think it was just kind of like, all right, I got to end this somehow. We'll just kill him off.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Let's see. According to a report, the sales of Volume 1 of Kaijin Fugeki increased sixfold in a week after Oh Great, the artist of that, drew a picture of the VTuber, of the HoloLive VTuber. Which one? It was Botan. Yeah, Shishiro Botan. Kaijin, which one is? This is the big frog mech. Evil Spirits one, two-headed girl.
That's right.
Yeah.
Hey, great. That's the strat, dude. It's just draw a VTuber.
This to me shows, and there's proof, is that manga advertising is bad. It's just bad because this is Oh Great, like one of the best, if not, like I would put him in top 10, maybe top 5, like greatest manga artists working right now, and writing a good series, with I don't remember who his partner is on this, but it's somebody with also like some chops. For Kaijin Fugeki, and they can't advertise enough to get people to notice it. But he draws a very popular VTuber once, and everyone goes, "Oh, this artist's really good. What else do they do? Oh, they're doing a manga right now. Go and buy it." Sixfold increase for Volume 1. Volume 1 of Kaijin Fugeki came out a while ago, like 2 or 3 months ago, I think. So, yeah.
You know what? That's like, I don't love hearing that it sold sixfold after he drew a VTuber. Because of the reasons you mentioned, but I'm happy it happened.
I'm happy it happened too. I want this one to stick around. I think it's good. So,
and no hate to VTubers. I'm sure that it was like it's like earned.
Well, I mean, it could have been anything. It could have been like he drew NBA star LeBron James, and now it's increased sixfold. It's like, who cares?
Yeah,
you should advertise better so that all the people who would be interested in buying that can go and buy it when it comes out, and not have to wait until he publishes some other thing to get people to notice.
Yeah, I suppose that's true, but it's cool that it happened, and I guess this is like this might make. I wonder if this is going to be like the strat going forward, kind of just drawing a popular figure that usually aligns and engages with your medium, and then you can like get some eyes on your stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there definitely is an angle of like advertising. You are the author, you're on Twitter, you're saying stuff. I mean, like, we look at the fucking Togashi is just the bad guy of this episode now. Remember the Togashi tweets where he just tweets the corner of a fucking page with like page 3 written on it, and it gets like 500,000 likes or something insane. Like, that's advertising.
Bro, you can't unilaterally say that he is the bad guy because I am not aligned. I'm not associated with this dude.
He's my bad guy in this episode.
Yeah, kill Bruce, not me.
He's my bad guy in this episode. All right, a couple more news things here. Look Back movie will be on Amazon Prime Video November 7th, 8th. Looking forward to that. I did not get to catch that in theaters. It's a short movie. I think it's 45 minutes or 50 minutes long. So, and I know it's going to make me cry, so probably better to watch it alone.
For sure.
The K Manga app is now available in Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and Singapore. That is essentially the 5 largest English-speaking countries that aren't America or the UK. So that's good that it has expanded its reach. It is still a bad app. It still has a bad payment method. I will not support it. Yeah. I
agree. It's where manga goes to die, I guess.
Yeah, where manga discussion goes to die. Yeah.
Yeah, truly. It's like so annoying. Anyway, onwards.
Yes, the Darwin incident got an anime announcement, which is good. That is, people are gonna look at that and be like, "What is this monkey man doing?" And then they're gonna watch it. They're gonna be like, "Vegan." What is it? Vegan terrorists?
Vegan terrorists.
It has so much to laugh about, but it's so good. We need to catch up on this one, I think. This might be...
By all means, it shouldn't work.
And it does. It was a really good series when we were reading it.
But it does. Exactly. Was that our first episode, Darwin Incident?
That was the first episode that we recorded. I don't think we published it. It might be published.
It was our pilot that we didn't have a structure. We weren't good.
Yeah, we're just kind of trying it out and messing around.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that might be on the page. It's either our very first published episode or it's our unpublished first episode. But yeah, we did talk about that 2 years ago. So. Okay. Akira Himekawa, who's the artist behind the Legend of Zelda manga, which is pretty well regarded. People really like that. Has a new series that started in Viz called Kabuto, which is out now. You can go read it, which is kind of essentially just the Legend of Zelda again.
It's very, very much just Link. Except not an elf.
Yes, I read the first 15 pages of chapter 1 right before we started recording now, and it is literally Legend of Zelda Mad Libs, where it's like the ancient god, like, move the name, change to something else, like created in the Dark World, move the Dark World name, put this new thing in, and there are now the Triforce, removed Triforce, put dragons in, like it, which is like, okay, maybe they're just like, they were too restricted writing Legend of Zelda. They wanted to do their own take on it. So maybe it is good. I need to go back and actually finish reading it. Maybe we'll talk about it next week. But yeah, this, it's just fun to think about.
I'm not sure the legs a Zelda manga would even have, because that's not really the appeal of Zelda. It's like one of these things that is meant to be experienced in a game, because it's a very simple story, right?
So the manga expands it a lot. Okay. I've read some pages of it and seen some excerpts from it. I think it's the Twilight Princess one is the one that was the most story. It is definitely the most story, kind of darkest, heavy one. That's the one that I think is the really popular one that this guy did. From what I understand, it's like really good. Like not just like kind of good, but like it expands the story and make characters work in a way that's just like extremely good. So I'm curious.
You know what? Here's my hot take. We should get Zelda out of here and just replace her with Midna. She's so much better.
I also like Midna. Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yes. Last piece of news here. Takopi's Original Sin is getting an anime, probably special or movie. I would assume that's a pretty short series. But yeah, that'll be interesting.
To be honest, I'm psyched for the anime people who haven't read it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to watch
this.
I
really don't. I am. Yeah.
I don't think I will. Unless it's like getting amazing animation or something, because it's depressing.
It's hard to get through. Yeah. Everyone in that series is abused. It's not fun to experience, but it is a good series. So
yeah.
Cool. I think that's it for news. Let's go to one more thing. Gautam, what did you do this week?
Oh, I had some friends over from out of town, so I booked an escape room and we did that. And it was probably too expensive for what it was, but I had a great time. And it's like one of these things that if an escape room is built well, it will actually make you think you're very intelligent.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's how you should feel after an escape room. And they if you get stuck, they'll give you you can ask for a hint. And we had to ask, we get up to 3, but they said unlimited if you want, which is look,
if you're really dumb, we'll give you as many as you want to get out of here.
Yeah, because ultimately they don't want a bad review of
for sure,
people can figure it out. But we asked for a hint, and they're like, yeah, you solved the puzzle right, but you just didn't open the locker correctly. We just didn't know how to use a lock. But that's
like a dial lock.
Exactly.
Yeah, those are hard. I could never open my locker in high school either.
Yeah. So that it tricked me into thinking it's like we only needed 1 of the 3 hints, and we had the answer already. Therefore, we're smart. I'm smart. And there was a detective coat, and I wore it, and I swear, gear in video game gives you buffs, different buffs. That one gave me +2 int, +2 delusion.
Yeah,
for sure.
You've discovered role playing and cosplay role playing, putting on I know this because I've been on the stage. You put your costume on for a stage play. It makes role playing playing the part on the stage easier. So I get that.
It does, because you're playing. You're already committed to the bit halfway. So you it's not that much harder to make a full commitment. And you think, Bruce, that here's the problem, right? I want to wear that detective coat all the time and be a genius.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I don't think society would accept me. I think they'd seriously make fun of me if I did that.
No, you'd have to get some kind of hat, like a fedora hat, maybe, wear a trench coat and fedora. Then you'd be cool.
I only to the people who don't know me.
Exactly.
And even then, that's nebulous. I think the people who know me would also just clown on me, and it would demoralize me.
Yep. Cool. I've always wanted to do an escape room, and I've never done one before.
You want to go do one sometime?
We should. Yeah, I'll invite my friends who live here, maybe, and we'll get 5 or 6 of us.
Yeah, let's do it.
We should do it because I've never done one, and it seems like it seems like the kind of thing I would like. So.
Yeah, I think you would.
Cool.
What did you get up to anyway?
I started reading Asadora. This is Naoki Urasawa's most recent, currently ongoing series. I saw volume 1 in my local manga bookstore and said, yes, I'm going to buy that and start it, even though it is not finished. And Naoki Urasawa was the most readable guy. And spoilers, it's of course really good. like all of his series are. It's very good. Essentially follows this little girl named Asa through kind of the early 1960s in post-war Japan. And she meets this kind of non-reputable guy who used to be a pilot in the war and teaches her how to fly. I'm only maybe 15 or 20 chapters in. I think there's only maybe 30 chapters out right now. But she, the first volume, she's young. She's 9 or 10. Second volume, she's 17 and she can fully fly a plane. And everyone's like, wow, she's one of the best pilots ever. And there's this background mystery where essentially Godzilla exists in this world. And so there's, I don't
how does that?
This is the thing about Naoki Urasawa that most people don't know is they'll talk to you about 20th Century Boys or Monster or Asadora, and you'll be like, oh yeah, he makes this very hyper real, very kind of real world stuff, and it's no, there's a fantasy element in everything he does. And in Asadora, it's the existence of Godzilla. Essentially, Godzilla exists.
But that's wild.
Yeah. Well, and in 20th Century Boys, it goes into kind of a near future type thing and some brain stuff and kind of the same thing in Monster, right? There's weird brain fantasy things, but yeah, I don't know. It's cool. So
did World War II happen?
Yes, World War II. Basically, the setup is World War II happened. Japan loses. That's all the same. In
the bomb, because Godzilla is represents the bomb.
Yes. Yeah.
And I wonder how that. It's they bombed Japan, then a giant lizard rose out of the lizard.
It's very clearly sort of not Godzilla, but very close to it. I think it's gonna. I think the monster is gonna end up being called Asadora. I think, which is the name of the series. They haven't confirmed that, but that would be my prediction. But it's just the one of the early events that happens in chapter 1 and 2 is there's a tsunami hits this girl's hometown and kills most of her family. She has a huge family with 10 brothers and sisters, and only 3 of them survive. But that tsunami. During that tsunami, she sees the tail of this monster, and is essentially sort of oh, this is the reason why the stuff happened. So,
I love that. That's cool. That's a cool premise.
It's cool, yeah. And then I don't know.
I'm glad it's not actually Godzilla, because that would have been a little weird.
No, it's a little different, but it shows a footprint that had gone over her house, and you look at it and you're like, well, that's Godzilla's footprint. That's what I'm looking at.
It's very clearly a Zilla-like creature. I get you.
But it's cool because Naoki Urasawa's stuff always takes from periods of time. Monster is very much about sort of fall of the Berlin Wall and what that did to that area of Germany, Russia, and all those former Soviet states. That's what that Monster cannot exist without existing in that location at that time. And it's the same thing with Billy Bat. Billy Bat exists in America in the post-war area through to the modern day. That is Billy Bat is about that time and that place. And so I think it's cool that Asadora now appears to be about post-war Japan, the 1960s Japan. So it is about that time and that place, and Godzilla is a great representation of that. So it's cool to see that in the story.
Yeah, that is dope. I'm this one has me interested. But I'm gonna visit Urasawa's other works.
He's
first.
so good.
But dude, until you told me this was recently publishing, I didn't know Urasawa was alive.
Oh yeah, he's not that old. He's maybe the same age as Togashi. He's maybe in his 60s.
Yeah, I had no idea. I was conflating him with Tezuka.
Oh no, Tezuka's long dead.
Another masterpiece maker, if you will.
Naoki Urasawa is 64. He has his own YouTube channel, dude. He runs his own YouTube channel where he just talks about stuff. Yeah, he's great. He is on another level. When we talk about good manga authors, it's just sort of Naoki Urasawa is just in the list of good authors. He's up there with I don't know, Hemingway, in my opinion. He's that good.
I had no idea he was this young, actually. Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah, I mean, that's still, I mean, he's like my dad's age, so that puts that in perspective for me. But yeah.
This is like, God damn, he's a good looking 64-year-old.
Yeah, dude. No, he's extremely healthy. He has like he works extremely hard and has amazing work schedules. He has like the best assistants. Like, if you hear this guy, he has for a lot of his life published 2 manga at the same time. He was publishing.
I don't get it.
He was publishing, I think, Monster and 20th Century Boys at the same time, or maybe it was Billy Bat and 20th Century Boys at the end. Like, he's insane. And the quality of work he produces is also insane. Now Kurosawa is amazing. Like, yeah.
It's this like inexplainable thing, kind of like Murata's art. It's like, I just don't know how that happens like that.
Yeah, he does it, he enjoys it, and it doesn't kill him, which I think is a super rare thing for someone to be extremely good at their art, like their art a lot, and have it not destroy them. I think there's a lot that can only get 2 or 3 of those. Or 2 out of 3.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. I think that's it. Unless there's anything else, Gautam.
Nah, that's it.
Cool. Hey, thanks again, everyone, for listening or watching our especially long Q&A. If you have any other Q&A questions for next time we do this, you can go ahead and drop them in the comments, drop them anywhere. Don't forget to, of course, leave us feedback, comments, upvote, thumbs up on the way out of this video. Check out Twitter and Patreon linked in the description. And thank you for being with us yet again this week.
Goodbye.
Don't forget, of course, to read more manga.